NSFW. What's the most ducked up game of truth or dare you've ever had? This girl was dared to kiss me or lick the toilet. She licked the toilet. It was truth or dare at a girlfriend's house back in HS. And she has a really nice house. Me. 2 guy friends. And 2 girlfriends. It eventually led to daring the girls to go into the shower naked. Which could fit quite a few people for a shower actually. One girl dared the one guy to get naked. The other girl dares the other guy to get naked. And I'm sitting there with my boxers on. No one bothered to dare me anything after that. They were having a foursome in the shower. I was sitting in the bedroom adjacent to the bathroom in my boxers. That hurt. Truth or dare? Truth. Who was your first duck? It was her dad, and that's how we all learned why he was in prison. Edit. Good lord. This blew up. As to why she didn't just lie, we were all good friends and it was obviously cathartic to finally have it out in the open. Keeping secrets from your closest friends sucks. I imagine, especially when they come with as much psychological and emotional baggage as something like this would. Holy it, the awkwardness in that room must have been insane. I bet on her turn to dare someone, she could have asked for just about anything. Disclaimer. This was pre-internet. Learning about and seeing the female form was elusive for some us. Me and my friend were dared to strip and jerk each other off in exchange for seeing a girl's boobs. We were 13. She was 15. I regret nothing. Edit. Yes. We finished. Yes. It was awkward afterwards. Boobs, no regrets. Holy it, dude. Thank God for the internet. I know. At last. We can watch videos of this stuff. I was first up. And they dared me to leave and go home. We were at a school camp one time. We had a few of girls sneak into our cabin. There were about 5 of us and 4 of them. We decided to play Marry Duck Kill. One of my buddies had a huge crush on one of the girls playing. When it came to her turn, she happened to name him as the guy to kill. Now this guy was known for being super sensitive, so as soon as she said his name he stormed out of the cabin in a fit of rage. We tried to go after him, but it was super dark, and seeing as we were in a forest in the middle of nowhere, we couldn't just go off in some random direction looking for him. We called for the teachers and they spent the whole night driving around trying to find him, to no avail. By morning things were looking pretty grim as he'd still not been found. After many hours of looking, they found him dead down an abandoned mine shaft. Apparently he managed to fall onto his head. After that no one ever played Marry Duck Kill again. Would you rather Marry Duck Kill, Cards Against Humanity, or any game like that at all? Okay. Well, this wasn't truth or dare. But never have I ever with me and some of my friends. Towards the end, it started getting pretty catty with one of my friends constantly saying specific things that would get one of my best friend eliminated. Like, never have I ever sucked a guy off in a Starbucks bathroom. That kind of thing. So that's how I found out that this really good friend of mine had apparently ducked my boyfriend on prom night after I decided to go home rather than lose my virginity to him. Good times. I was playing Never Have I Ever with my brother, cousin, and their good friend at a bar. They were all older than me. My brother asks the question, never have I ever kissed a dude. I'm straight. But theater can get weird and sometimes you play a gay dude. I don't particularly care. But as soon as my finger goes down, my cousin and his friend start ragging on me. For the first time in my adult life. However, my brother sort of defends me. Come to find out, my brother was gay and scared to come out to his bigoted friends and family. He shot himself 35 days later. Some guy chose dare and was told to go duck himself. He dropped trow and sucked his own dick. Props on flexibility, man. But I'm still kinda grossed out to this day. Alpha. Getting a bit buzzed, I asked one of the standard questions. Have you ever had a sexual experience with someone of the same sex? After some doubting he answered with, when I was 4 my cousin raped me. And that was the end of that night. Hanging out with a few girls from the ghetto side of town. Plenty of drunken shenanigans. Anyways, a game of strip poker broke out in the kitchen. Some point in the night a random girl appeared. Maybe a young looking 13. To ask her mom where something was. Pretty weird vibe already. When her mom said come play with us. I'll deal you in the next hand. Me and my buddy noped the duck right out of there. By far mom of the year right there. Played truth or dare with some friends at a party. I got dared to kiss all of the girls there and none wanted to. Duck me. Of course no one wanted to kiss a snail killer. There is no tagging in mobile but I knew the name from somewhere. Thank you so much. Somewhere around 13 or so. I dare a friend, girl, to fart on my other friend, guy. She actually seemed excited. He seemed nervous. And closed his eyes as he laid down onto the bed. So she squats over his face and lets go of one I didn't think she'd have in her. I see his eyes go wide and he knocks her off of him and runs towards the bathroom. By this point I'm laughing hysterically and she's slightly embarrassed. My dad walks out of the kitchen with his friends. Asks what the hell happened as he's puking in the toilet. I told him. Now she's incredibly embarrassed. From the bathroom we hear oh god I can still smell poo corn. Brella, he had an odd vomiting sound. She left shortly after. Never have I ever at uni, or I have never as we called it. Found out the girl we lived with had a gangbang with 5 rugby players. She said it was amazingly hot hearing them all cheer each other on as they took turns ducking her. Edit not leads met. This was about 15 years ago. Was at a friend's house for another friend's birthday. Drinks were had by all. And we were all in the jacuzzi. Next to the heated pool. Slightly more guys than girls. But it didn't really matter. Made it a rule that women had to be topless. And if you wanted to be naked, it was optional. Truth or dare was the game of the night. It eventually went from that to who haven't you made out with yet? And back to truth or dare. My turn came up and I chose dare. I heard these exact words. I dare you to jump into the pool, naked. It's the middle of January. And you want me to jump into this heated pool? Challenge accepted. Didn't really help that I had an erection from the previous girl getting dared to give me a lap dance. But I took my shorts off. Went over to the edge. And did a textbook belly flop into the water. Someone forgot to tell me that it takes a while for the heated pool to actually heat up. In fact, they didn't even bother with it. Never have I experienced a boner go flaccid so quick in my lifetime. There were laughs and a few high fives when I emerged. This one isn't so crazy as others. Just stupid teenager it. Kid was dared to go into the bedroom where the parents were sleeping. And start doing push-ups. If asked what he was doing he would simply state, I'm doing this because I love my green nipples. Okay, I never wanted to tell anyone this but I guess I will. Played truth or dare one time. And it was my turn so I choose dare. They dared me to knock on my neighbor's door and run. But my neighbor saw me running away. My neighbor told my mom and I cried. Y'all got crazy lives. We, 3 guys and 3 girls, were all in the hot tub at this chick's house playing truth or dare. And I get dared to go mash my dick balls up against her parents' bedroom window. Granted, it's like 1 AM. And the whole house is completely dark. So I thought it would be no big deal. Get out of the hot tub. Run over to the window. Drop my suit. And smash my junk up against the window for a few moments. Then, in the reflective light of the pool, I catch a glimpse of her parents sitting right inside the window. Watching us from inside. They didn't even blink. Just watched me. It was ducking terrifying. Terrifying. Like, I saw them for a split ducking second as the light passed over the glass. Just inches away from my mashed up dick on the other side of the window. Something from a horror movie. I gasped and ran back to the hot tub. Got back in. And just sat there in complete silence. A couple minutes later, her dad comes outside laughing. Hands me a beer. And then reminisces with all of us for a minute about the crazy shit he did when he was a kid. I've never felt a shock like I did when I saw their faces. It still haunts me sometimes. But it all turned out better than expected. I was 25. Oh god. So my friend recently got a new boyfriend and he was slightly older than us. We were second year college. Anyway. He has a house party while his family is away, so we all go. Fast forward to when we're all drunk. We play that king game where everyone draws a number and whoever gets king can tell the other numbers what to do. Anyway. Almost all the dares became make out with 410 sex. Things got weird really fast. My friend with the boyfriend ended up making out with 3 other dudes that weren't her boyfriend. And boy did she get into it. She was hammered. One dude she absolutely wouldn't stop making out with and had to be pulled away. The boyfriend wouldn't even look at her. Later in the night, another couple started talking about a party they were going to have in the future, but it was going to have legit games. AKA having sex with other random people instead of kissing. It was a surreal look into our future. Like, this is what people do for fun nowadays. The next morning, my friend and I, hungover, went to an anime convention. Never looked back. My friend and her boyfriend were chilling with me in my jacuzzi. My friend and I were really stoned, I must add. It ended up with him daring us to go skinny dipping. If that wasn't bad enough, we ended up going butt naked onto the trampoline and jumping around in all our glory as he sat and watched in the jacuzzi. Definitely have a weird relationship with those two. Edit, I am a female and he did jokingly say this is how threesomes get started. There was no threesome. For senior ditch day, my friends and I got 40-50 friends to party in a cabin. Someone was dared to run around the house naked, and he declined. I said I'm willing and the whole room chants my name and I instantly remove all my clothes and sprint through the cabin. Everyone's cheering, laughing, or yelling as this happens. 10/10 would do again. My brother got Cards Against Humanity, but hadn't played it before. We opened it up to play with my parents and aunt and uncle. I had to put a stop to him explaining what bukkake is to my mom. A childhood friend of mine and I used to play Truth or Dare all the time when we would hang out. Usually under a blanket in his basement. I was always too shy to say truth be told. We were around 12 and I thought masturbating was super weird and that no one could find out I had done it. So edits. I always chose Dare. And there was a huge phase where his dares were always to make out with him. For your information, I'm also a guy. So after several games, Truth or Dare basically meant it was time for us to make out under a blanket in his basement. Turns out he came out as gay later into high school. Edit, to answer the main question showing up in the comments for my post, I'm bisexual. So close enough. Haha. We were young, semi-naked, and gathered in a shed. Brianna was dared to remove her underwear. She insisted that she couldn't do it if her brother watched. He turned around. She dropped her drawers. And everyone was happy. Until he turned back around before her turn was up. She freaked out. Started screaming at him. And then began choking. A bee had flown into her mouth. And as we watched in ignorant horror, it stung her in the back of the throat. Yes. She was allergic. She even had an emergency locket that held pills she was supposed to take if she was stung. Unfortunately, she couldn't swallow them at that point. Her brother ran to get help. Dick wildly flapping in the breeze. Adults appeared. Explanations were vague. Punishment was equally vague, but harsh. Thus ended Truth or Dare for about a year. What started as a game of Truth or Dare turned into an orgy that then turned into a naked fist fight. Now that sounds like a good old-fashioned good time. I was in 7th grade and this was one of those weird middle school parties. In order to spare some details, I ran around my friend's house shirtless with a tampon up my nose singing the national anthem. Adolescence was weird. The most ducked up of all Truth or Dares happened at a sleepover at a friend's house when we were 12 or 13. There were 4 of us. All guys. 2 I later found out were gay. And after a number of alcoholic beverages, suddenly it suggested we play Truth or Dare. I went with it. It started out innocently enough. But soon we were sprinting naked down the street, jumping fences, and taking challenge dips in the neighbor's pool. Because their daughter was hot. And she might see us nude. That's nothing. Next. The fan. Dude got dared to put his dick in a moving fan blade with the guard removed. Yeah. That made the most horrible noise ever. Like a skin flapping version of a table saw. Next is the nightmare fuel. My friend who was hosting the sleepover had his stuffed childhood dog on a shelf nearby. And someone pointed out the stuffed dog had rips all over it. Including one in the precious childhood toy's butt. They dared him to duck it. I remember how quickly the mood shifted. My friend looked sick and angry. But he felt he had to do it. As we taunted him and called him a pussy. Next thing you know, he puts his dick in his childhood stuffed friend and starts ducking it. And suddenly, this frozen scream of realization comes over his face. And he starts projectile vomiting all over himself, his cock, the stuffed dog, and all over us. It was straight out of The Ducking Exorcist. TLDR, guy ducked a fan blade. Another guy ducked his childhood stuffed dog and had a pretty rough time with it. Buddy's having a party and invites me. Drinks were had and were all sufficiently buzzed. Buddy's turn passes and he spins the bottle. Lands on a girl who's pretty and chesty. He dares her to let me have a shot from her cleavage. She agrees and pours a shot and then buries it in her cleavage. So I'm face deep in her tits. Literally struggling to grab this shot glass. I finally get it and try to get it out. It catches her shirt and spills all over her chest. I pull back and I'm apologizing. She looks at me and says, "Nah, you gotta finish the shot." I clean her up and look over at my buddy who nods to me. He is literally the best wingman ever. Your buddy is the real ducking MVP. We had a game we called Truth or Dare. Asterisk. Where the person given the dare absolutely had to go through with it. But they could impose a condition. As long as they still went along with the original dare. And the darer had to agree to it. The idea was that, as the darer, you wouldn't demand too much, as you could get screwed along with them. Later that evening, we were going to play a Wii sports tournament. So I dared a girl in our group that I was hot for to do the whole tournament in her underwear. And she imposed the condition that I kiss the gay guy who was hot for me. I looked at him, back at her, then back to him, licked my lips and crawled over. It was truly worth it. Well, during Truth or Dare there was this one girl there I knew my buddy liked. So I dared her to dry hump him a few times while asking who his mommy was. Later that night she confessed how she was into me and that the dare made her want me even more. We banged. Was an unbro-like conduct by me. Playing Never Have I Ever with friends. One person said never have I ever had anal. And the girl sitting next to me quietly asked, does it count if it wasn't consensual? I think I was the only one who heard her. So I asked her about it later. Turns out she had been hooking up with her boyfriend. He went for the butt. She said no. And he didn't listen. They're not together anymore. It was a dare. And my mate ended up lying on the floor and drinking a beer that was poured through another friend's sweaty hairy ass crack as a Funnel Valley type of situation. I'd be surprised if he didn't drink a little bit of it. Truth or dare? Dare. I dare you to sprint around the block naked. Okay. Comes speeding around the corner, trips up. Entire front of his body has road rash. Endgame. We were playing Never Have I Ever and this French guy, exchange student, said something that sounded like, "Never have I ever it on my girlfriend." After about 2 minutes of laughter his buddy helped explain that he actually meant cheat. Damn you, language barrier.